All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday, February 23rd. We have a 10-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about many other plays like player props that we like in the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays. So I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3. 4 more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. All right, in terms of last night, I think we were due for one of these. We were, honestly. A reverse sweeping there. Everything that we touched just turned to, I don't even know what the word would be. We did have a few close ones if we put our hand up and say, hey, a couple of them are close, but nonetheless, a bunch of red X's in the recap. So yeah, a reverse sweeping the dustpan. How about one more womp womp there for your boy on the good side of things? And the good news, and the thing that brings the vibe up, is the fact that we had Mark here with the ride of the day. Let's pump in some crowd noise. The soundboard's getting a little bit of juice today. We had Jokic for a triple-double. I got this at -110. Looks like Mark got it at +105, so shout out to him. Jokic didn't have a typical game, though. He played 35 minutes, had 10 assists. Okay, 13 rebounds. That makes sense. Only 12 points. The fact that there was like a little bit of the sweat for the triple-double there, like he pretty much wouldn't cash anything else, right? His points, his PR, his PRA, his points plus assists. But the triple-double does come through, even though he only scored 12 points. So you know what? Shout out to Mark for the ride of the day. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. I also shout you out over on my Twitter/X, which will be popping up here throughout the show. And you get a shout out over on the Guy Boston Sports site as well. So go ahead and drop those hashtag ride of the days. If you win, we continue to ride with your play. So looking forward to seeing what Mark throws at us today. But still, these comments help so many other people. So even if we're not jumping on board with you, it's really hard just to pick one person each and every day. But you're helping out a ton of other people that are looking for plays in the comments. So get those down there. We have some absolute bangers. I tell you guys all the time, there's so many more people in the comments that are way smarter than me, like honestly. So go check those out and make sure you're showing love. If you do like a play, let that person know. I love the comment section, the vibes that we got rolling down there. But what do you say we dive into this slate? Like I said, 10 games. There are some good games on the board, some not so good games, but that's to be expected with a 10-game slate. Let's do a little bit better than yesterday, huh? What do you say? Let's go ahead and jump into it, guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's rock. We're starting off with Boston taking on New York. This is an early start game, 1 p.m. Eastern time in Boston. Right now, Celtics 8-point favorites. I've seen some 8.5s out there. The total sitting at 231. This is a spot in which, we've seen the Celtics look good against this Knicks team, right? Last time they played, they beat them 131-104. Just 3-point favorites, and the Celtics ran away with that. That was in New York. I do think the Celtics team is starting to play some good basketball, and they're playing good basketball against the number, which hasn't really been their forte all season, right? They're 40-16 straight up, but against the number, just 24-31-1. But now in their last 10, they've covered in 6. And coming out of the All-Star break there, they smoked Philly, right? They're 6.5-point favorites. They beat them by 20. So Celtics at home here. Yes, I'm a big Celtics fan. Maybe there's a little bit biased involved in this one, but I like the Celtics here minus the single-digit spread. If we want to look at where this Knicks team kind of struggles defensively, and we'll dive into the dashboard so I can show you versus just tell you, and I'll explain a little bit later in the show how to get access to this dashboard every day. But you can see the Celtics, as we know, are going to shoot a lot of threes, right? Number 1 over the last 10 games in terms of above the break 3 attempts per game. Now, look at this. From the shot zone perspective, defensively, Knicks allowing a 43% field goal percentage number to their opponents from above the break. That ain't great, buddy. And then even looking down here, you can see points allowed from 3 per game. The Knicks 22nd on the season. In the last 3, 28th, and on the road this year, 27th. So just like we saw the Celtics in that game where they beat them pretty handily, I think if the Celtics threes fall, we should see some obvious success, right? Now, a couple other things that make me like the Celtics, I would say, in this spot. would be the fact that they've become a pretty damn good paint defense, right? You can even see down here, top 10 in terms of points in the paint allowed, and even looking at the last 10 games in the restricted area, because that's where New York likes to score from. This is how we use the dashboard, right? You could see here, the Celtics, 57.9%, under 58%. I was going to say under 60, but under 58% in terms of stopping their opponents down there. That's really, really good. Now, if you are making an argument from the Knicks side of things, obviously they're really, really good. The Celtics struggle defensively in the pick and roll, so Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns can kind of 1-2 punch there. And the Celtics also have been struggling isolation defense recently as well. So keep that in mind if you are liking the Knicks. Maybe there's some pivots that you can go towards there in terms of some specific guys that may play well. A couple player props I'm looking at here is definitely going to be anyone that likes to run the pick and roll in the Celtics offense. Obviously, that's going to be Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis as the roll man. I think that we could see some nice spots out of them. I don't mind Jason Tatum's assists. It's sitting at 5.5 right now. His last 2 games, 7 assists and 10 assists. Last time he did play the Knicks, he only had 4. So I guess it's obviously a little bit low, but the time before that, and that was still this season, he had 10 assists. So I do like this spot. I mentioned the Knicks kind of struggling offensively from, the perimeter, right? They also haven't been the best interior defense either. Ever since, Hart's been banged up and OG Anunoby's been out or was out, like this Knicks defense definitely took a downhill climb, if that makes sense, a downhill slide. So if we can get Jason Tatum to assist some guys at the rim, which is also not the Knicks' forte defensively, I guess they don't really have one right now, I think we could see some buckets coming off of his passes. So yeah, I like that spot. I would also consider, like I said, Jalen Brunson could have a good game, but I think where I'd pivot points-wise in this one, maybe you look at the guy that kind of screwed us last time out, Mikal Bridges here, over 14.5 points. I don't mind that spot for him. The Celtics have been good defending the perimeter and the rim. They've kind of struggled in the mid-range. Mikal Bridges definitely likes to score that mid-range, right? That's where, a lot of his shots are coming from, and a decent amount of his points are coming from too. So yeah, I kind of like his spot here as well. In terms of what we have from a total, so we like the Celtics in this spot. We like Tatum's assist. We like Mikal Bridges to score. I don't mind an over. Last time out, the Celtics put up a big number, and I think the Knicks are a little bit better than just 104 offensively against the Celtics team when they scored last time. So yeah, give me the over in this spot as well, but it's probably ranked in the order of what I said, maybe Tatum being my favorite play in this one, but essentially the Celtics, player props, and then total. All right, this is another early one. I believe it's either 3:30 Eastern time here. Couple early games. We have another 5 o'clock and then a 6 o'clock as well coming up. But Golden State taking on Dallas here in this one. Right now, Golden State, decent favorites, right? 8-point favorites on the graphic, but I've seen some 9s out there. So this thing is soaring up. We just saw Golden State beat Sacramento handily. Yeah, we were on the wrong side of that one. Sacramento now on the DMB graveyard. We saw this matchup, 2 games before the All-Star break, and Dallas ended up winning it 111-107. It was a very close game. So I don't want to say that Dallas just cranked it and all. It's no, very, very close game. In fact, Golden State were 7.5-point favorites. They lost as an underdog, but again, I'm kind of giving Dallas that credit for keeping it close. Dallas has won 3 straight games, starting with that Golden State one. They've also won 6 of their last 10. They're playing decent basketball, but this injury report still just kills me, right? We kind of doubted them even last time against New Orleans, and that was closer than they probably would want, but they still covered their 5.5-point spread. Miami, they beat outright. That was the game before the All-Star break. So these injuries haven't really bothered them, but Golden State's playing some good basketball right now. You have a healthy Golden State team. Their starting lineup, Curry, Podziemski, Moody, Butler, and Green. They're a small team, and you're probably like, that kind of stinks, right? But look at Dallas. Their entire centered core is injured, right? They get rid of, they trade Luka, get Anthony Davis, poof, he gets hurt. Gafford, Lively, Powell, Klebegon, all these guys either out or traded. PJ Washington had been playing center for them. He's questionable in this one. You do have Kessler Edwards, I guess. I mean, if you want to say that that's going to be their stud, on the defensive end, guy's on a 2-way contract, right? So, and he's only 6'7" maybe, and he's skinny. It's they do not have a big team, meaning I think that the Warriors can small ball them to death here. My problem is 9.5 points is a lot. Yeah, I'm already seeing 9.5s out there. If this was 8, I can kind of understand it, but now we're talking double-digit win. It's a little bit difficult to see it going that way, but you know what? I can see it. I'm going to lean towards the heavy favorite again in this one, especially because it's at home in a weird spot, 3:30 Eastern start. These players are kind of, it sometimes takes adjusting to that. But overall, I just can't really see this Dallas team like what I would say is if a team was big, they have a little bit of an advantage over Golden State right now, right? But the Dallas is arguably smaller in general. So yeah, I don't mind this spot for them overall. One spot I would consider is Kyrie Irving's points. The dude has been crushing it. So obviously we're going to get kind of I don't want to say inflated line, but a high line, right? I think it's like 27.5, 28.5. But he's been quite literally going off. Last 3 games, we talked about those 3, right? But his last 3 games, 30, 42, and 35. This is a team that does not exactly, defend isolation all that well in Golden State. Like, who's going to get the call? Is Jimmy Butler going to come up from the pseudo 4 to cover the point guard here? Not exactly sure, right? So I think Kyrie could have a good game. If they smother him, I also don't mind a pivot towards assists. But last time he played this team, in 40 minutes, he had 2 potential assists. It's 0 assists overall, 42 points. So that we could just see something like that again. In terms of what we have from a total, I think the Warriors can, I'm going to lean towards the over. I was going to say, I think the Warriors can put up a number in Dallas, might be the Kyrie show, but I'm going to lean in that direction ever so slightly. I don't think, I'll tell you transparently right now, everything I'm talking about is transparent, but tell you really, really transparently right now, I don't think that I'm going to consider that for a final play today. Just doesn't make all that much sense to me. And what I mean by not making all that much sense is like, yes, we could like that many points, but this Dallas team, even though they've beat up on some teams and whatnot, like they only scored 111 against New Orleans, a terrible defense. Golden State is small. Last time they played 111, 107. Like this could be a low scoring game, slow pace. So I don't really want to mess around with the total, but someone in the comments may have it. So I don't want to talk you guys into or off of anything you got. But quite honestly, one thing I should be talking you into is for this game, heading over to sleeper, guys. Steph Curry, we didn't really even mention him. We talked about Kyrie, but Steph Curry is going to hit this line today. 0.5 points. They also still are offering the play $5, get $55 instantly, guys. Go check out Sleeper. It's a really cool player prop app. You just pick higher or lower, more or less, based on the set projections they have. You put them into a lineup. The more you win, the more you get paid out. And Sleeper's payout system is very, very cool. Each and every play you throw in there has its own unique multiplier, so it changes the payout dynamically. Really cool, guys. Go check it out. That link will be down in the description, as well as the pinned comment. You've heard me talk about Sleeper a lot because, quite honestly, it's one of my favorite DFS player prop apps. They have so many lines and alternate lines and a lot of cool things they do over there as well. Go get this Steph Square, 0.5 points for new customers, as well as play 5, get 55. You get 11 $5 free plays over there. Really, really cool. Go check it out, guys. That link will be down in the pinned comment as well as the description. All right, let's keep cruising through these games. Indiana taking on the Clips. I would say a healthy Clippers team should, I hate to say, dominate in this spot, but the line isn't really computing in this dumb brain. You know what I mean? Like, yes, Kawhi Leonard's listed in the starting lineup, Norm Powell's listed in the starting lineup, but they are questionable. This line is kind of screaming they're not going to play. I mean, the Pacers have been playing good basketball. Don't get me wrong there, but the way the Pacers defend is defending the perimeter. The Clippers are going to try and score inside, and the closer you get to the hoop, that's where the lack of defense comes from the Pacers. So, like I said, I even use the word dominate, but how can that be when you're getting 4 points, right? So something's telling me that, I'm assuming, I guess I should say, Kawhi's not going to play. Even Norm Powell might not play. So, yeah, and the Clippers, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, are on a back-to-back. Let me fact-check that. They are on a back-to-back. They play Detroit tomorrow. Kawhi has been sitting out, either one or first leg or second leg of back-to-backs. I would deem this game more, I mean, it's not really important either way, but wouldn't you rather play him against the better team? Pacers playing better basketball. I guess you could say Detroit is too, but to me, this line doesn't make sense. I'm almost assuming that Kawhi is not playing here. So, I'm still going to lean Clippers. I think that this is a decent spot for them, but if Kawhi doesn't play, it's probably a no touch for me. I think this Pacers team at some point, the wheels will fall off. A lot of their wins here have been against kind of shaky teams. Like they smoked the Spurs second game in Paris, right? And that's kind of where this good basketball started, but then they looked really bad against Portland. They played this Clippers team and beat them by, was it 7? I want to say that was in LA, right? But that was even a banged up Clippers team, so let's throw that out there. Kawhi played, I think it was like 30 minutes, but overall they didn't have like the best of games from their starters. And then again, throw in the fact that they're on a win streak, but some of their wins are just kind of like, okay, like, do we really want to give them credit for beating, Washington or, beating, or actually they lost the Lakers. I was going to use the Lakers in LA. They beat Atlanta. They beat Detroit. Like, they're catching some of these teams in good spots. I don't know. Am I calling BS on the Pacers here? I think so. Give me the Clippers plus the points. Again, I think it's going to come down to in the paint, but I don't think I touch it if Kawhi doesn't play, especially Norm Powell. Like, you're quite possibly missing 40 points of production there. In terms of what we have from a total, I would consider a Pacers team total under, I guess. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but they're going to shoot a decent amount of, score a decent amount of points coming off the pick and roll. This is a Clippers team that's pretty damn good at stopping the pick and roll, even in isolation. That's a spot where Indiana does some damage. Clippers not all that bad, 11th in terms of score percentage. So I'm going to lean towards under or a Pacers team total under overall. When we look at these two teams, you're probably thinking, okay, well, yeah, the Clippers can contribute to that under. That's how they like to play. But, the Pacers, they've gone over this line in 8 of the last 10. I get it, but I do think that they're due to have like a stinker at some point. The game was the Knicks game. They didn't look all that great, right? And they've kind of made people forget that, but they only scored 115 in that. I could see something similar here. And let me see what their updated team total is, because if it's a good number, depending on the number, probably would be a little bit more confident. Let's see. Under 119.5. I don't mind it. I think that this Clippers defense could kind of lock in. They haven't had anyone score 120 since they played the Lakers a while back. Even when they played this Pacers team, they scored 119. So, yeah, give me the under or Pacers team total under in this one. If Kawhi plays and Norm Powell plays, or either of them, I think I'm going to lean towards Clippers plus the 4. Player props here. Okay, so I do like Zubac. My concern is that is it going to be a game in which Miles Turner says, hey, I'm going to play defense here, right? Because we've seen some games where this season, we've seen some games where Miles Turner looks like that rim protector Miles Turner. We've also seen some games in which it's like, who is that guy? All he's doing is hanging around the 3-point line and stuff like that. So if we have some Zubac, I don't know what his line is right now, because I think we're still obviously waiting on 2 starters to be confirmed in the lineup or not. But Zubac, if it's right around that 14.5, which we've been able to get it at, I don't think I mind it. We shall see. Last time these two squads played, let's see, I don't even know what. I think we might have had Zubac there, right? He had 18 points and 15 boards. I still think he could do some damage in this one. All right, Raptors taking on the Suns, and yes, we do have an update on the DNB graveyard. The Suns now have a headstone. Tyrese Haliburton still on there, as are the Kings. I'm sure we'll get Haliburton off there at some point. We haven't really touched him in a while. Pause. But the Suns and the Kings are two teams that every time we roll with them, they just burn us. And we did see a comment that was a good thought yesterday. Kind of respond to it. I wish I had the username up. I'm sorry if I don't, man. Sorry that I don't. But and it was like, why don't you just bet the opposite when you put a team in the DMV graveyard and stuff? And that's kind of quite the point. I know that if we started to just blindly fade the Kings, blindly fade the Suns, that's the point. Like, they would somehow screw us and start winning games. So when we put them in the DMV graveyard, it is truly a do not touch hazardous material type of thing. So now the Suns are in there, and we're talking Suns right now. And I know some people are like, oh, the DMV, you should never put every game in a vacuum. That shouldn't impact it. We can have some fun with this too, right? Like, obviously that isn't the most long-term profitable strategy to put a team in the damn virtual graveyard, but it's fun. It's what it is. We got Toronto here taking on this Suns team, though, and I do still think that there's some arguments to be made for this Phoenix team, but we may be seeing Jakob Poeltl back in action, which should be a pretty big boost to this Raptors team overall, right? And this is a team in which Phoenix really struggles to defend the paint and score in the paint, and if the Raptors can get things going and kind of control the pace and the paint play, I don't really give a rat's ass if they're the better shooting team, the Suns and whatnot. I think the Raptors can kind of control this one, especially at home. Like, they're 12-18 at home this year, which is probably like, that's not all that great. 5-21 on the road. Like, this is a team that is much better at home, even if the numbers don't look that great at home. It's like they look even worse on the road. So I like the Raps on the money line here. I don't think that I'm going to roll with it myself because, like I said, this Suns team, you could still make some arguments. Like, if the Suns start hitting their threes and their shots, like, yeah, I think it's going to be really hard for this Toronto team to keep up with them, right? Because Toronto, again, control the 2-point game and control the pace, meaning kind of keep it below where the Suns may like to play. They're kind of a mid-pack pace team, but the Toronto Raptors play slow. But if Phoenix gets out and starts scoring and starts rolling, I don't know if there's an answer necessarily from the Toronto side of things. So that's the thought that may keep me off of this. But there is, if Jakob Poeltl's back, there's definitely justification in rolling with this Toronto team because, again, you're taking a team at home only on the money line, don't have to worry about a big number, and they should control some of the more important things that I would consider important in the game, right? Kind of in the paint. We'll show you in the dashboard just what I'm talking about right here. You could see Phoenix, 69.2% to their opponents over the last 10 games. That ain't all that great. You can see down here, right, as well. Look at that, 27th on the road in terms of points in the paint allowed. Toronto, yes, their last 3 games don't look all that great, but that's because of the injuries. But 4th in terms of points in the paint so far this season. So obviously a big spot. Some concerns that do jump out to me would be this isolation. You obviously have some guys that can isolate on the Phoenix side of things. Toronto not all that great at defending it. But catch and shoot shots, which Phoenix clearly does a lot of, right? 2nd in frequency this season, 3rd in effective field goal percentage, and 4th in scoring offensively in terms of percentage. Top 10 across the board in terms of Toronto's defense. So like I said, arguments for both sides. Think I'm going to roll with Toronto. Even note up here, you can't really see that, but this is strength of schedule. I know my camera's blocking it. That 1 signifies the number 1 hardest schedule Toronto has played this season. I mentioned how to get access to this dashboard. Let's jump into that right now. So over on the Guy Boston Sports site, which is the link in the pinned comment, head over top right here to the members area, the NBA dashboard. We're signed out right now, so you'll see it says, hey, membership required, right? View membership levels. We have multiple being offered as of right now. Even though there's only one sport going on, NBA, I'm still offering this all sports dashboard at $4.99 per month because by the time MLB rolls around, this is going to go up a few bucks because the MLB dashboard, I teased it in the Discord yesterday, that thing is awesome. So yeah, if you do want to sign up for the NBA dashboard and get access to the dashboard we're showing you in the video, just $2.99 per month for this season. And whenever you guys lock in a price, you're locked in at that. So it's a good thing. Even if we up the price in the future, something like that, whatever your subscription's at, you get to keep that price. So it's pretty cool. All sports dashboard though, $4.99 per month right now. It's going to jump a few bucks come MLB season. So if you do want to get in early at a price and you plan on using the MLB dashboard, maybe that's the move. Now, if you are logged in, we could set this to show with membership access. You'll see on this page, right, on the NBA dashboard page, you get this each and every day. I doubt it's updated yet. Yeah, a little early here, but this will update shortly with, today's slate, and you have each and every game broken down in a visual format, pulling from multiple websites to help you out and save you some time in your research. So yeah, go ahead and consider becoming a dashboard member today over on the Guy Boston Sports site if it does interest you. It literally just updated right now, so that was pretty good timing. But yeah, at the time of recording, you guys can see this afterwards. Anyways, all of the games are now up to date. Where we'd go in terms of a total here, I am still going to trust that Toronto, again, controls the base. I'm going to lean towards the under here in this spot. And one thing that I kind of want to take a peek at player prop-wise would be to isolate anyone that likes the catch and shoot shots from the Sun side of things and consider fading them. So Grayson Allen comes to mind, right? You also have, I would say, Royce O'Neal, who's been shooting a lot of catch and shoot shots. I might look at the under 2.5 threes for Royce O'Neal. The problem is the dude's been crushing it lately. He's averaging like 4 threes a game, so that's a little difficult. But again, this Toronto team doesn't necessarily send help towards the ball and whatnot. They struggle more in isolation. They do not leave their shooters, right? So this could be a good spot to fade some guys that like that catch and shoot. We don't have lines for Grayson Allen, but Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, just off the top of my head, are the catch and shoot guys that I would at least say, are worth taking a peek at here, I guess, for their unders. Atlanta taking on Detroit. I think this is going to be a good game. We'll definitely be tuning into this one here. Atlanta has dominated this matchup dating back to 2022. 8-2 straight up here. Now, only 4 of those games they've covered in, so Detroit's definitely covered, but obviously we have a new look Pistons team, right? They now, like I said, are in a playoff spot. We talked about it last time. They're 7-3 in their last 10, 7-3 against the number. They lost by 2 last time they played this Atlanta team, and it's only one of their 3 losses in their last 10 games. One was to the Cavs, and one was, again, we've already talked about them, a red-hot Indiana team. So I think this team's been playing really well. My concern with the Pistons is the fact that, okay, well, we've seen them play San Antonio. We were on the right side of that one. We had like 3 different plays in that game. San Antonio, Chicago, Charlotte without LaMelo, right? Philadelphia, and then their other wins, Chicago, and then a beaten Dallas team. So 3 of their 7 wins are against Chicago, a team that almost, you could say, clearly doesn't care anymore. So I'm a little concerned with that. This Atlanta team has played a much harder schedule. They've only won 4 of their last 10 games, this Detroit team being one of those victories, but they played against Orlando, who maybe is starting to figure some things out. They almost beat the Knicks, and they were nearly 10-point dogs. They did beat Orlando recently. They smushed the, kind of like that word, smushed the Wizards, beat Milwaukee. Like, they have some quality wins recently. Now, injury report-wise, definitely something to keep an eye on here. Trae Young, listed as questionable. He has been questionable for all of their games recently, but obviously that's going to change things overall. I'm still going to lean Detroit. It worries me a little bit for the reason that I said, like, is this Detroit run real or anything like that? But realistically, and I'll just show you again, you guys are getting a lot of views to the dashboard in this video. Maybe I'm lazy this morning or something. But Detroit shooting a ton in the paint, right? This big red block over here is points in the paint allowed. It's quite simple. 75% to their opponents over the last 10 games. Quite simple, like I said. If Detroit can dominate the paint, we should see them dominate this game. They're playing good basketball. Again, I'm giving credit to the fact that, yes, it's been a easy-ish schedule, but I don't think this Atlanta team is built to stop a team like Detroit. And you're probably like, well, I mean, they just beat them, right? They beat them 132 to 130. Like, they didn't stop Detroit. They just happened to score more points than them, right? So I wouldn't get all hot and bothered saying that, you know, they stopped them or they held them down. One spot that I would consider here to go, so I do like Detroit, to go player props, may be a consideration of Tobias Harris. Last time we saw these two teams play, Tobias Harris was one of our plays. We had him over in points, and he cashed quite comfortably, right? And this is a dude that has been absolutely crushing it, honestly. Like, we look at his last 10 games here, he's averaging 18.3 points per game, right? And he's only missed in one of these games. It was against the Cavs. He shot the ball, you know, pretty poorly, 3 of 9, but he's shooting the ball, you know, 10 plus times recently. And again, I think he's going to be able to score at multiple layers here. So I like Tobias Harris over in points. And I also don't mind Jalen Duren, you know, double again, or potentially some maybe points plus rebounds, something like that. Because again, he's going to be the guy that's down low, right? Last time he played this team, was it the last time? I believe so. Yeah, he had 18 points. He didn't get that many boards, but 18 points. So 2 Pistons I do like overall. And then from the Hawks side of things, I don't think that I'm really, you know, thrilled with too much. Even Detroit's perimeter defense has been good lately, so probably sticking away from player props there. Total-wise, it's a tough one, but if this game, like, Detroit's going to be scoring by 2s, I think that I'm going to lean slightly towards the under, even though the last time they played it was 262. All right, an interesting one here. I don't think it's going to be the best, like, product of a game, but it is interesting because we have the thought and sort of deliberation in our brain of, is this Orlando team going to start figuring some things out? And yes, you look at their win-loss, nothing's all that great, but they had a pretty quality game there against Atlanta, and then they played Memphis really tough. They were only 2-point dogs. They lose the game by 1. They even covered, right? So I'm sitting here being like, is this team back? Because they held a Memphis team who's a very, like, the total in that game was, what, 230? And it was 105 to 104. The total in the Atlanta game was 223, and it was 114 to 108. Like, they're starting to play that defense that we knew. And the offense hasn't necessarily clicked yet, but they're going up against Washington. If there's ever a time to say, hey, let's get our offense right, it's probably against this Washington team. But like I said, if Orlando isn't back, if we can't deem that totally for sure type of thing, it's like that is a really big number to lay, 12 points. And it ultimately comes down to that for me. If I'm being honest here, I think it's just too big of a number. Washington, have they been playing good basketball? Hell no. But they've covered in 7 of their last 8 games. Why is that? Because they're getting numbers 11.5, 17.5, 11, 10. Like, they're just covering. And I don't know if this Orlando team's offense is in place to totally click and, you know, cover by 13 points. Can they? Hell yeah. This Washington team stinks. But I still think that 12 is too much to actually confidently roll with Orlando, especially when we don't know exactly what Orlando is. Am I crazy for thinking that? Like, I'm not telling you or saying myself that I'm going to roll with this, but it's almost like I look at that and I go, I'm just not ready to lay 13, 12.5, 12 with Orlando, right? Like, that I know for sure. So by default, I have to kind of consider Washington's side of things with that thought process. In terms of what we have from a total, if Washington keeps this one close, I think that, you know, they can maybe push the pace, but not by much. But even if that line is spot on and say the odds makers got it right, 12 points in a game that's, you know, 216 being scored is a lot of points. It kind of even confirms that Washington spot for me. But I'm going to lean towards the over. I think that's a little bit too low. And if this game is competitive, Washington sure as hell is going to, you know, push the pace because, or at least by doing so, by keeping it close, the pace will increase. Because if this game is low scoring, I think Orlando has their thumb on them and are pushing them down. You know what I mean? Because they're such a slow team. But if Washington is running or trying to run on them and gets going, we could see some success. And neither one of these teams is good. Like, you think of Orlando as a good defense, which they are. I think they're the number 2 team defensive efficiency-wise on the season. But you think of them as a good defense, you're like, oh, they probably stop transition. They allow their opponents, when in transition, 54% field goal percentage. Washington, 55%. So those aren't good numbers. If this game somehow gets to going in transition, we could see some points being scored that are not really, competitively being stopped. And no major player props that I'm liking in this one right now. I would say if you wanted to kind of dig in yourselves, maybe target guys that get to the hoop. For Orlando, I could see some spots there. This Washington team, the closer you get to the basket, the worse and worse defensively they get. I mean, that's starting on the other end. You can inbound the ball on the other baseline, and the minute you get closer to the hoop, that Washington defense gets worse and worse. That's how bad they are. I'm Milwaukee taking on Miami. I want to start with a player prop spot in this one because I think we have to get it early if we want it. Right now, it's minus 160. That's pretty damn juiced, right? But I do like, I'm trying to see if we can get any better odds. No, we might have to jump on this sooner rather than later, even before, the video comes out. Hopefully you guys could still get this line, but Duncan Robinson over 1.5 3-pointers made. This is a Milwaukee team that obviously has been better, defending the rim than the perimeter so far this year, but they struggle against catch and shoot players, and that's what Duncan Robinson's MO is. Now, if we look at his minutes, obviously they're going to be kind of up and down. He's having some games which he plays like 20 minutes, 23, but his line's down to 1.5. When he plays a lot of minutes, it's at 2.5, so we get that, right? But obviously with them trying to clearly kind of change up their lineup and get Davion Mitchell in there more, Wiggins being in the lineup, like Duncan Robinson's getting less minutes. But I think, like I just mentioned, his line's kind of dropping accordingly. So I like Duncan Robinson over 1.5 3-pointers made. It doesn't really help to look at his recent games against the Bucks just because, again, like he was playing more minutes. But for what it's worth, against the Bucks here, he's hitting 5 straight games, 3.4 threes made per game. Now, that was in a game in which he played 22 minutes. That was last year. Every game this year so far, he's played 30-plus minutes or 28-plus minutes. So I don't know if we'll get those minutes today, but still, I don't mind the spot for him. So starting with that one, if you like that reasoning rationale, maybe try and get that sooner rather than later because, again, I think we're going to get a pretty bad price pretty damn soon. So we'll probably lock that one in. I'm sure you can see that as a final play, just like a half unit type of thing, maybe a full unit because it's so juiced, but we'll see. In terms of where we go from a game perspective, right, I do think that this, like I mentioned, is going to be a good game overall. You have Miami, who I don't want to say I struggle with wording this correctly, but Miami, who I think is going to put some pieces together, I guess. I think the more Wiggins plays and even Mitchell, like they're clearly trying to fit him in, get some defensive presence out there. But you also have the Bucks, who, how many times have I said this year that I think the Bucks are going to turn a corner at some point? They're now at home, and this Milwaukee team hasn't necessarily been the team that likes to score in the paint like we know. They've been shooting a lot of threes, which to some degree plays into, where Miami on the season had been better defensively. But Miami's starting to be better ever since the Khalil Ware move and Bam Adebayo kind of emerging as a better player, I guess, because he was sluggish for a little bit. They've started to defend the paint more. So if Milwaukee hits their threes, which I think that they can, I talked about Duncan Robinson, I think Milwaukee can run away with this one. And I don't know if Miami necessarily has the offensive firepower to keep up with them, because most likely it would be, okay, well, Tyler Hero, let's rely on you to hit some big shots, because if they're just counting by twos, Bam Adebayo's going to work down low, Ware's having his, doing his thing down there, Wiggins isn't the biggest of shooter. We know, Davion Mitchell isn't the biggest of shooters, like, the biggest of scorers. Like, I don't know where the offense comes from. So I'm going to take this in the direction of, I think Milwaukee offensively looks very good in this one. By the way, injury report, this should have gone without saying, but got to mention it. Injury report, Lillard, Giannis, both listed as probable. Tyler Hero listed as probable. I'm assuming they play. Seems like a big enough game, right? Eastern Conference here. But I think Milwaukee kind of gets going and runs away with this. Where I might pivot to, instead of saying, hey, go win by 6 points to Milwaukee, is just saying, okay, what if we have a competitive game where I think Milwaukee ups the pace? What if we just look at Milwaukee right now over 110.5 for their team total, over 111.5. You can get plus money right now at over 113.5. I think that could be a spot that I consider as well. Last time these two teams played, which was this year, just a month ago today, actually, Milwaukee 125-96. Like, yeah, they covered the number, but if you rolled their team total just like today, you would have been fine too. So maybe that's the move. If Miami keeps it competitive, that only helps the team total. So I feel like there's more ways to hit the team total than there is if Milwaukee hits their shots, because the pace needs to be brought up. I think that's going to be the move. There's more ways to get there than I would say to cover, making sure they cover. And Miami's defense, though, it's good. Like I said, it's kind of flipped on its head. It's kind of playing right into maybe where Milwaukee may be able to score from today. So yeah, I like the over. I like Milwaukee, but maybe the team total over is kind of the hybrid version of those two. And then Duncan Robinson is a spot that I'm considering. We just have to figure out if we like the idea of the less minutes, but I still think it's a good look. We locked it in. Final play, just telling you right now, I don't even know if by the time you see this, if you can get it at that number, unfortunately. But yeah, minus 160, it's minus 180 everywhere else. So if you can get anything minus 165 and inside, I think that it's still got some value there. But obviously it's more juice than, like we like to say, Jose Canseco in his prime. All right, if you guys made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 35. You made it pretty much 35 minutes in. 10-game slate. We're going to have, I don't know, maybe a 40-minute video. Not all that bad. I'm sure the guppies out there are going to be like, you talk too much and all that. But you know what? I'm not a robot, and I ramble sometimes. I can at least admit that. But comment 35 if you made it this far into the video. Do appreciate it and really do love the support. This game, New Orleans taking on San Antonio. I don't know where to go on this one, because doesn't that just like that line just like it jumps out? It's like, oh, wait, San Antonio should dominate. But then you remember, okay, well, Wemby gone, right? And you even look at the rest of their lineup. It's like, yeah, even still, Chris Paul, Fox, Vassell, Harrison Barnes should look pretty good. But this Pelicans team is starting to get more healthy. So I'm almost thinking this is a trap line for San Antonio. A lot of the season-long metrics we look at won't really help us, because we do have, obviously, Wemby included in there. But one thing that I think that I will take from this is the fact that New Orleans isn't covering the point guard or the shooting guard all that well. We're seeing some point success from them. So if I would say De'Aaron Fox can get going, I don't mind his points plus assists. My concern is that it's really high at 31.5. But he should have his way in the pick and roll, and just honestly, like I said, point guard, shooting guard, kind of the two positions he's bouncing back and forth from. He shoots either threes or at the rim. New Orleans, not a good defense either way. So it's tough to like San Antonio in this one. I think I will lean towards them because you're getting a plus number. You're getting a plus number in the money line as well. But I think De'Aaron Fox may be the pivot if we don't necessarily want to roll with the team. I think him and Paul could have good games, especially coming off of, not coming off of, but, coming into this one going up against a team that struggles in isolation. If De'Aaron Fox, they clear it out for him, I don't think that there's anyone that's really going to give him all that much trouble, right, from their side of things. Like Herb Jones not playing out for a year, right? So, yeah, I'm going to lean in that direction, Spurs, but it is very much a lean. I even started this, chuckling, because what do we do with this game, right? It looks 239.5, a lot of points expected to be scored, 1 point spread. It looks like this fireball of a game that we should really dive into. I'm struggling to find the deepest of angles. So give me the Spurs. Give me Fox to have a good game. In terms of where we'd go, we'll probably just trust our model here in terms of the total. 119, 115. That's still under, even though it's a high line, so we'll lean towards the under. Now this one should be a good game, right? 249.5 the total is. I want to jump to the under right away. That is kind of what we'll start with. This is a very, very good Cleveland defense, and I'm thinking Memphis's defense should be pretty sound as well. I think the Cavs are going to have to rely on the three-point shot, which is fine. They can make those, but overall, I don't think that we're going to see such interior success from this Cleveland team amounting to points. When we look at this, right now, Cleveland, obviously a team that can isolate. They don't do it a ton, but Donovan Mitchell being a guy that will. Memphis, number one team in terms of effective field goal percentage against in the isolation. In the pick and roll, which is something that Cleveland runs more than anybody, number 8 in terms of effective field goal percentage defensively. So Memphis should be able to, play some decent defense in this spot, I would say. Now, one concern of mine would be that Cleveland, if they just are rolling, this is a spot, this is a team, both teams, I should say, actually, can just put up 120 themselves and with ease, you know what I mean? Such good defenses, but the offenses may be better. Right now, Jared Allen's questionable, Darius Garland's questionable. That's major. If they don't play, then I like this under even more, right? But overall, I still do think that, the defenses hopefully have some success here. Cleveland's defense, we didn't even talk about it, very good overall, right? The top 10 defense, but over the last 3 games, the number 1 defense. Memphis likes to score inside. Cleveland likes to score to stop, or is good at stopping teams inside. If Memphis wants to shoot today, likes the ball from 3, right? Likes the ball from 3. Cleveland should be able to stop that as well. So I'm hoping the defense succeeds here. And I think there's more arguments to be made for the Cleveland side of things. They're at home. I think that they're the better team, even though Memphis is a very good team. So I'm going to lean Cleveland too, but I almost want to just respect both Ds and lean towards an under overall. Player prop wise, I know Garland's injured, obviously, but I would look at anyone, perimeter wise from this Cavs team. I think that's how we can beat this Memphis team overall. And right now, Darius Garland, his point line's at 21.5. If you can get this at 20.5, I've seen that out there as well. Don't mind it. I have him projected for just under 22 points here. I think that he could have a good game. And I already mentioned, the fact that the pick and roll is kind of a good defensive spot for Memphis. Maybe Darius Garland points plus assists, so we can include the assists in there, because he'll probably be coming off the roll and looking to dish it up as well. So right now, I think is let's see if we get that updated line. His points plus assists at 28.5. He's barely come close to that line recently, but this Memphis team, I don't think fits the bill. The Memphis team does fit the bill in terms of him having a pretty good game. Minnesota taking on OKC. Injuries-wise, looks like we do have, Rudy Gobert listed as out, Julius Randle still out, Edwards out, and Dante DiVincenzo out. Nothing major on the OKC side of things. Chet's good to go. Isaiah Hartenstein, who's been, the fact that they're working both of them and keeping them in that lineup is awesome, because this team is, I'm not dropping any jaws here, but this team's pretty damn good. Shea, Dort, Williams, Holmgren, Hartenstein, damn. I do think that, it's tough to ever look the other way of OKC, right? Like I even mentioned, I think it was in my last video, I was like, they're kind of ruining at least these segments of the breakdowns, because it's like, what am I going to do? Make a true argument against the best team in the league right now? I don't think that I can do that. So this is probably an OKC look for me. Yes, another favorite. A lot of favorites we like, but a couple dogs in here today. The reason I would say OKC is probably the move is because they just have, without Rudy Gobert, I think there's a massive, massive piece missing in terms of defending that paint and defending the rim. Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, your two biggest bodies not playing in this one, and we know the Thunder like to get to the hoop, right? So that's kind of the only reason that I would lean in this direction. Throw in the fact that we saw this matchup a few days, or a couple of weeks ago, and how'd that one end? Oh, right. It was a win for Minnesota. You're telling me that OKC isn't going to go, hey, let's get these guys back. So I'm going to lean towards OKC. I think that that's a fair spot to look, but I don't mind someone being like, but it's Minnesota, 10 points. I already saw them win. I could see that, but the injuries just do it for me in this one. In terms of what we have from a total 229, I like the under. I think that, yes, OKC should score. Maybe we look at a Minnesota team total under to be a little safe, and because that way, it's like, okay, well, if Shea and cast and crew is going to go off, we don't have to worry about that. But I do think the defense down low and whatnot can make it tough for Minnesota to score. So I still like the under, but maybe Minnesota team total under is something the more we look into it, maybe we get a little bit more confident with. But I think I might just roll with under overall. But that's also scary when we're looking at, obviously, an OKC game, because they can seem like they could put up 200 points themselves, making it tough. But guys, no real player props yet in this one. We may add some, but keep an eye on the pinned comment to the final plays. If we add anything that we didn't talk about in the video, I'll give a little blur. But that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.